So I have the pleasure to introduce to you all today Sushma Nagaraj. She is a local to the Dallas-Fort Worth area here in Plano. She is a solutions architect with AWS. She has over 5 years direct experience with AWS and beyond. In short, she is going to be speaking on manual chaos to AI-powered DevOps. She's got a very unique presentation. We're checking in and around for avoiding any AV hiccups because she will also be doing some demoing and playing videos and flipping between that. So if you guys could give a warm welcome to Sushma.
Thank you, Scott. Hope you're able to hear me well, and welcome again. And hope you're all having fun at DevOps Day Dallas 2025. And I'm so excited to be part of this session today. And I'll be talking about from manual chaos to AI-powered DevOps. It's based off my journey with AWS, and I'm excited to share that experience with you all today. As Scott mentioned, I'm a partner solutions architect, and in my 6+ years of experience in the IT world, I've worn different hats as a DevOps engineer, as a solutions architect, as an IT engineer, as an infrastructure engineer, and started as a developer as well. So with that, let's get started. So I know the session is after lunch, so how was lunch? Hope everybody had good lunch. Great, that's awesome. So here's the deal. I'm going to come up with cool demos today for you all. And you're going to bring in all the energy you have to stay awake, since this is after lunch. And I hope you like my demos better than the desserts today. All right, so going back to many years ago when I started my career as a DevOps engineer, I was part of these releases where it was a complete gamble. Late night slacks, late night firefighting, slacks around, hey, is it done? We are closing the release window. When are you going to fix the issues, right? So we've all been in that situation where we had that pressure. We have also been in situations where there were a lot of manual processes in between for a minimal release to happen, and we definitely had our own battles there. But today, in the recent years, I see a lot of change, right? So we see pipelines that build themselves and they're able to deploy themselves. We have infrastructure as code, we have AI, we have automation in place, and I think our lives are getting a lot more easier and better. And today, I just wanted to maybe do a pulse check here. How many here are familiar with AWS and work with AWS Gen AI services? Perfect. I see a mix here. That's awesome. So what I've tried to do today is kind of try to strike a balance with my content here. And the hope is, even if you are new with AWS or not familiar with AWS, that's totally fine. But I'm pretty sure you'll walk away with something new to learn. So for today's session, I would say the talk of the town is AI. Will I lose my job? How are things going to look like with AI? And I think now AI is gone. It's all agentic world now, right? So what I've done as part of this short session is I have taken an example of software delivery lifecycle, and it's again based off like some of the services and Gen AI I've leveraged as part of my DevOps journey. And I'm going to walk you through how I was able to make an SDLC lifecycle far better by leveraging Gen AI. All right, everyone here knows about DevOps. I don't have to like talk through it. So it's again a synergy of culture, practices, and tools. But what I would like to take away, what I would like you all to take away is if you kind of like focus on the building blocks there. So say you pick source code or say you pick testing. What I would like you all to go back and think about is, okay, how am I going to leverage AI as part of source code? How am I going to leverage AI as part of like testing? So it could be like automated pull request creation or automated pull request comments, or it could be automated testing, and it could be anything, right? So how am I going to like improve the operational efficiency in every portion of the DevOps cycle there with respect to culture, practices, and tools? And you'll be very surprised if I say I work with a lot of customers who still do have a lot of manual processes within their CI/CD pipeline. And again, as you see on the slide here, the challenges could be what you see here, or it could be a different challenge, and the biggest is the yellow color wall there. It's too difficult for them to get started. They kind of like get introduced a lot of DevOps tools and practices. They have been doing the same thing again and again. So they get accustomed to those practices, and we always have that fear of change, right? So we don't want to change so quickly. So that's another challenge that I see with my customers too always, and they get exposure to like a lot of tools and so many vendors, and they're like, hey, what's the right tool for me? And again, there's that learning curve people are scared about, and there's also like no centralized oversight. Like different, if you take an organization, there are like different teams leveraging different set of DevOps tools and practices, and it's kind of like difficult to oversee what other teams are doing. You don't have that centralized visibility. You don't have a standardized process that you kind of follow across the organization, and things becomes challenging. And what happens with these challenges is you hit into blockers when you have to like innovate something, or even if you have to like adopt Gen AI, all these challenges kind of like add to the problems that already exist. So we are familiar with our DevOps culture, right? So our DevOps culture is to deliver high quality and software, and which is like quick and reliable. And again, organizations may be running into bottlenecks or challenges that we saw in the previous slide. And as I said, there are still organizations having some manual processes here and there, and they don't have a complete automated process for their DevOps cycle, and organizations still struggle to implement that. And as a result, you have software delivery that's not of high quality and not quick and not reliable. So there's like a chain of dependency that you see there. So here's how a typical software delivery lifecycle would look like, and this is something you're all familiar with. You write code, you build and test, you deploy, you observe, and then you go about improving it, right? So again, there could be manual processes somewhere in between these stages here. What we're going to do is dive deep into each of these stages, which are part of the SDLC lifecycle, and see how we are able to leverage AI and see some cool demos related to the same. All right, so how many developers here? Okay, a lot of them, that's cool. And who used to love Stack Overflow? Now I know it's a different world, but I was the person where I got a requirement and I'm like not familiar, or ran into some issues. I went to Stack Overflow, Googled, and I copied the snippets, pasted it, did some edits. We have all been there, right? So we all love to write code, but I think writing code has changed drastically here with AI. So we look into like how that transformation has occurred with AI as well in a little bit here. And next we have build and test. Everybody is again familiar with build and test. And again, the most important piece, even with respect to writing code as well as build and test, is we want to keep security in mind. And we also call what is called as shift left security. That is, even when I'm copying a piece of code, we just want to keep security in mind. We don't want to introduce like unforeseen vulnerabilities into production. And when we come or talk about build and test, we want to detect security vulnerabilities at scale. What I mean by that is we want to have code scans when we are trying to build and deploy code. We want to be able to capture security vulnerabilities before things go to production. But trust me, we have all come across the situation where even though we do all of these, somehow we see a vulnerability that ends up in production. So how do we go about handling that with AI is what we're going to see today. And the third most important piece here is observability. So I've seen organizations taking their applications to production. It could take like a month, a year, or 6 months time frame, or even a feature release could happen in like 15 days. Ultimately, when the application ends up in production, there comes the interesting piece, right? So you have to like monitor various things. How is my application performing? Am I meeting my customer SLAs? And am I able to automatically detect the issues if they occur? Do I have enough alarms created? Do I have dashboards in place, right? So if it's one application, it's kind of like easy to manage, but we're all part of big organizations where we work with so many applications and we have to deal with a lot of application collection, log collection, metrics, creating alarms, creating dashboards. So how do we go about leveraging AI to operationally manage the observability piece there? And ultimately our goal is to reduce MTTR, which is our mean time to resolve. I don't want to talk about what is AI, but we'll be seeing how we'll be leveraging AI, and much of our focus will be on the generative AI piece there, which is powered by our foundational models. So we'll see how we're going to leverage that. So a quick icebreaker maybe, how many here are already leveraging AI as part of their DevOps workflows? Awesome. There you go. I see some raised hands. Don't be shy. All right, now comes the exciting part. I've been part of sprints where I used to complete my development task within like 5 days of the sprint, and I used to be like, hey, I'm still fixing this issue. Hey, I'm still doing this feature enhancement and things like that, right? So we've all been there. We have lied to our product managers for sure. But what I really want to convey here is developer efficiency, right? So if I can have a Gen AI tool, or if I could leverage Gen AI to write code for me on some of very common things, right? Like file operations, or it could be like unit test case generation, or maybe even detect security vulnerabilities in my code that I'm writing, right? So if we could leverage Gen AI to do more of the coding tasks for us, we might actually find time to do something more innovative, right? So that's what I call as developer efficiency, right? So you're able to build more with less time and leveraging Gen AI to do most of the tasks you have as well. So how do you accelerate coding tasks? And I was talking to you about Stack Overflow, but now we have the ChatGPT world. So how many here use ChatGPT to debug issues when you run into some code issues, or even write code, right? So all of us do that. I do that for my personal projects. Unfortunately, I can't use ChatGPT in my work. But we all do that today, right? So we have almost stopped using Stack Overflow, and I'm like so dependent on ChatGPT or any of the Gen AI tools these days that I've stopped thinking. I just be like, hey, can you write this piece of code for me? And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And I just copy paste and I just finish my task. So we are all there, and we've been doing that as well. All right, so like I said, I can't use ChatGPT because it's not an approved tool, but we have a wonderful tool that I leverage as part of like our customers' developer experience or developer efficiency increase, and that's QDeveloper. QDeveloper is again similar to ChatGPT, trained on billions and millions lines of code. It helps you accomplish coding tasks. It helps you detect security vulnerabilities. It helps you to improve your application security, and again, multiple language support, Python, Java, .NET. And you're also able to transform from one language to another language as well, even if you're not familiar with, like say, .NET. You're able to transform that to a language of your choice as well. And again, you can use AI responsibly with QDeveloper as well. And one of my favorite P's that kind of like adds to code development is also infrastructure as code. And I've been an infrastructure person for quite some time, and I really didn't want to skip talking about infrastructure as code. And again, you all know what infrastructure as code is, and the main purpose of infrastructure as code is to make things predictable and repeatable. You don't want to be introducing manual errors to your deployment, and you kind of like want to automate the entire provisioning process. And I love CloudFormation, and I'm a big fan of CloudFormation, even though I know CDK works a lot better than CloudFormation. But yeah, I still like CloudFormation. I don't know why. So here's CDK. Again, if you're a programmer and you like development, you have a language of your choice and you want to write code in, or you want to like code infrastructure in that specific language, Like say you like TypeScript or Python or Java, then you can leverage CDK to write infrastructure in that specific language, and CDK makes things a lot more easier for you to write infrastructure. So I always love this slide. So I have a sample CDK template here, and as you can see, on a high level, it's creating ECS task definition, a couple of application load balancers, listeners, and target group. If I'm going to have to write the same piece or same set of like resources in CloudFormation, it would be 100 plus lines for sure. So that's the biggest advantage of using CDK. Now, do I have to know CDK? Do I have to know CloudFormation? Things have changed a lot today. I used to be part of infrastructure team long years ago when I had developers reaching out to me and they used to give the requirements to me, and then I used to go to AWS documentation, copy the snippets from there, or I used to go to Stack Overflow, copy the snippets from there, and then build out my CFN template to deploy infrastructure. But today, I really don't have to do that. Generating either a CDK template or generating even CFN template is so easy with, again, generative AI, and that's exactly what I wanted to convey. All right, so now is the demo time. I did a lot of talking, but I kind of like quickly wanted to show you how you could leverage QDeveloper to do some of the coding tasks, to even scan security vulnerabilities, and then we'll also go through a quick demo of IAC generator. And to just give a context, right? So I've been in situations where I develop something very quickly. I'm like so excited to develop a POC, show to my manager, hey, this works. Here you go. I want to demo the solution that I've built. Right? We all do that. And then you have to templatize that because you have to scale your deployment all the way to prod. And I always wondered if there's like a tool which helps to scan whatever I have, like resources within my AWS account. Just select that and then templatize that. Right? I've always wondered, and there were a lot of third-party tools earlier supporting, but again, I couldn't use that. But now we have IAC generator within CloudFormation console, which helps you to scan resources within your AWS account. You can select the resources that you want to pick as part of your template, and then CloudFormation template is generated. Ta-da. So we'll see a quick demo of that. All right, so the first thing I wanted to show to you all is, I know the font is small, let me expand that a bit. So I took like two applications that I've been working on recently. So one is a claim processor and other is just a CDK tool generator. I kind of like picked both those applications. I kind of like wanted to show you how you could leverage QDeveloper to kind of like help you with the coding task or even help you with detecting security vulnerabilities. And this is a big project, so I kind of like ran the scan quite earlier just to save some time. So as you can see here, my very first question to QDeveloper was, let me see. Can you run like a security vulnerability scan for me, right? So as you can see here, it did a complete scan of my code, scanned through all the files and folders, and it also started giving me quick fixes around what it felt was vulnerable. And it kind of like said, hey, extract the error message to constant, you have credentials that are not in plain text and things like that. And then you can also see it kind of like categorizes the issues as well. On the top, you can see like critical, high, medium, low, and then info. And another quick example I wanted to show you with QDeveloper is, so if I go and ask a question here, can you summarize what this code is doing? It's working, and there you go. So you are all new to my project workspace. You don't know what I'm working on, even though I gave you a context that I'm working on a automated claim processing system. But you can see it kind of like gives you a complete summary of like what the code base is doing. It gives you the deployment logic. It says it's creating infrastructure using CDK. And then it is also giving you the business context as well. And as you can see, it kind of like, maybe the text is low, but it says likely an AWS solution for financial institutions to automate document-heavy processes using AI. Right, so it kind of like analyzed the code and it summarized what the code was doing. And again, you could try this out with different set of prompts, like can you detect security vulnerabilities in my code, and you saw how it categorizes the security issues there. You can also ask questions around, hey, can I optimize this function? It kind of gives you possibilities around how you can optimize a function. And again, on the infrastructure piece, if I just say, can you give me CDK code for creating DynamoDB, or maybe give me Python Boda3 code for creating DynamoDB, it kind of like takes into consideration all the parameters that you may want to take into consideration while creating DynamoDB, and it gives you like code snippets for you. Right, so you don't have to go to CDK documentation, which I was doing earlier. I used to go to CDK documentation, refer to some of the samples there, copy paste that, and if it doesn't work, go to Stack Overflow, fix error. So you don't have to do that. And this, I'm pretty sure it would work. So you have like your code generated, and you can see it's taking into consideration a lot of things. It takes into consideration GSI if you need. So it takes into consideration error handling and things like that. So isn't that pretty cool? So now let me switch over to my IAC generator here real quick. So if you're not familiar with AWS, again, that's totally fine. So this is my AWS account, and where do I find IAC generator? A lot of people might not be familiar with CloudFormation, but that's totally fine. It's used to create, automate creation of your infrastructure. So you can see IAC generator over here. I completed a scan recently, so what I'm going to do is create a template, give it some random name, and you can see all the scanned resources that are part of my account comes up here as part of a list. So if you're trying to build POCs, you want to like pick a certain set of resources, like say you have a serverless application that you're building. So you want to select a specific Lambda function, you want to select a specific API gateway and maybe an S3 bucket. You kind of like select that from the scanned resources, and then you're going to just click on create template and you get the CFN template for you. So what I'm going to do here is maybe just do, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to quickly select an S3 bucket. So let me just select one for the sake of simplicity. And then if there are any related resources, you can add them. And then what I'm going to do is just click on create template. So it takes a couple of, okay, there you go. So we have the template that's ready and generated in here, right? So it's a very simple example. It's just an S3 bucket that got created. All I did was just selected the resources in my console already deployed, and then I have the template ready. And one other cool thing that I also like about IAC generator is what you can also do is download this template, and then you can run the CDK migrate command from your local machine, and it gives you the CDK code as well. So you can basically do both, generate CFN template, or you can generate CDK template depending on what you want your infrastructure to be in, and you have the job done. So that's about IAC generator. So going back to my presentation here, so okay, before that, how did you like the demos? Was IAC generator something new you learned? It was? Okay, that's cool. All right, so I wanted to introduce another tool here, Amazon Code Catalyst. And before that, I want to share a story with you all. I had a customer that I was working with a couple of years ago, and he has a very small team of developers, and they kind of like wear multiple hats. And the requirement that he came to me with was, hey, I have a small team of developers. I don't want to juggle with like different tools for issue tracking, different set of tools for building pipelines, or also like play around with different services. I kind of like want a unified platform where I can do all of these things and also be able to generate, and also be able to use GenAI if possible within the same platform. So that was the request he came up with, and I was like, I've already worked with organizations, but I've the experience of leveraging different tools for different things, right? So we've all been there. I was like, is there a tool that I can leverage where everything can be done in one place? And that's where I came across Code Catalyst, so I wanted to share that experience with you. So you are able to do the planning or issue tracking, you're able to code, you're able to build, you're able to test code, you're able to deploy code, everything from one single unified platform, and that's Code Catalyst. And one of the cool things I actually like about Code Catalyst is blueprints. So if you're starting something from scratch, like say if I want to build a 3-tier application, all I do is I just choose a 3-tier web application blueprint, and then it gives me the CDK code needed for the same, it gives me like templates, it gives me at least the skeleton for code as well, and then you kind of like go about adding your own piece of like logic or business logic that you kind of like want. And that was something that I really liked because it's giving me or doing like most of the work. It's also like creating the templates for CI/CD pipeline and things like that, and even like giving out unit test cases pre-built as well. So I was like, it's pretty cool. So let's see a quick demo of Code Catalyst here. Alright, so I have created a 3-tier web application beforehand because this takes a while to create a space and provision. So I kind of like did that beforehand. Kind of like want to show you how it would look like when I go to what is called as a workspace within Code Catalyst. So I created an example project, and the blueprint I chose was a 3-tier web application. And as you can see here, I have the issues tracker here, so it's pretty much similar to Jira, and then I'm able to create bugs or feature requests that I want my development team to work with, and I'm able to track the progress here. And then if I click on code, you're able to see the source repository that I have, and you are able to see the complete code base. It has README, and again, this is pre-built, and you can always add your own business logic on top of it. And then I have pull requests where developers create their pull requests, and then I have the dev environment where your developers can go and code, right? So if I go and click on the Cloud9 environment, you can see that it opens up Visual Studio code in the cloud, and then you're able to edit code, you're able to like create pull requests, and you're able to push code and do everything that you need as part of the dev environment. So while that, okay, there you go. So that's your Dev9 Visual Studio Code environment. And then on CI/CD, you can see workflows, everything in one place. So you can see if a pull request gets created, what are all the activities that happens. You can see a code guru security scan that happens. So that's something that's going to take care of security in there. And then you have the development environment. You can again have a prod environment. You can have pre-prod environment. Everything, as you see, I'm just trying to like play around in the same console. You're not going to any of the other services or toggling between services. Everything is in like one place, as you see here. And then you have compute, you can manage secrets, you can do some change tracking here, you can do reports, you can do packages, and a lot of cool things that you kind of like see here. Now, I really felt this was cool, but I also wanted to show you one quick thing actually. So if I go to Code Catalyst, I wanted to show you the blueprints that I was talking about. So if I do create project, look at the options that you get, right? So you have LLM Playground, you have single page application, you have .NET serverless application, you have static website. So look at the options that you get, and this is building most of the things for you. All you have to do is go check what base you have and then create your own business logic. Isn't that pretty cool? I really loved Code Catalyst, so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Now, going back to my customer ask, he was also going to ask me about how can I leverage GenAI as part of Code Catalyst. I have a demo that I want to like play. Follow along the demo. Let me go ahead and play that here. So it's choosing a blueprint, and it's again 3-tier web app. It's a simple serverless application again. And you can see a list of connections, permissions, IAM roles, trust policies, project resources that it's all going to create as part of your blueprint. And then he's providing the project name. It's creating the modern 3-tier web app skeleton there for you. And you're pretty much seeing what I showed you a couple of minutes ago. So he's going to the issues tab. We saw some of these options again. You can also see source code, test, everything part of that code as you saw there. And that's how the application run would look like. And then you can see the infrastructure gets deployed first, and then the application gets deployed first. You have like integration tests in place. You also have other tests in place. You also have a pulse check on whether the endpoint is working. So everything is embedded as part of that CI/CD pipeline, as you can see there. So now we are going back to issues. It's like the Jira tracker. So what issue are we creating here? So we're basically trying to summarize the CDK stacks configured for the application. So we're asking, I'm going to say it's again Q, which is going to generate a README file for you. And it doesn't have to be just README file. You can play around with any issue fixes, or you want to develop a specific feature. You can just create that as an issue, and Q developer is able to create a pull request for that specific change you need. So you can see the various steps there. You can see the evaluation is taking place, and then it's going to analyze the repository that's there. It's going to generate the background, it's going to generate the approach, it's going to generate the code, and then finally it's going to create the pull request for your approval as well. And it kind of like asks a few questions around whether you want the Q developer to mess up with your workflows or not. You can choose that, and then it also asks you a question around, hey, do you want to review what I generate before I kind of like merge the code, right? So you kind of like select those options, and then you can see everything turns to green in a bit, and then you get the pull request automatically created for you. I felt it's cool. Are you all following along, or do you feel it's cool? Okay. So you can see as it scans through each step, it kind of like says, hey, this is the background, hey, this is the approach that I'm going to take. So it kind of like spits out all the evaluation that it's going to do behind the scene, and say, hey, this is how my README file is going to look like, and this is how like the pull request would look like. Do you want me to go ahead and merge code or create a pull request? So it's going to ask you those questions, and then it's going to create the pull request ultimately for you. All right, there you go. So that's the pull request that it created. And it kind of like summarized the CDK stacks configured as part of the application and created the README file for you as well. So I would maybe stop this demo in the interest of time. But as you can see, it kind of like similar to Git, right? So you can see what are all the files that has changed before and after. You're able to view that. And then if you go back to overview, you can see that it kind of like moved the issue from in progress to in review because it created the pull request. So everything happening automatically for you. So that's cool. So I think the rest half of the demo is actually even cooler. So I think it's going to go scan for a vulnerability, and then it's going to go ahead and create a pull request to fix that as well. But yeah, let me continue to play it. So what we are going to do here is adding ESLint as part of like on pull request, and then it's going to detect a vulnerability as part of it, or also an lint issue. It's going to detect all that automatically, and it's also going to automatically create a pull request to address that as well. So it's going to pretty much follow the same methodology as you saw in the demo one. So I'm going to stop that, but as you can see, it's going to continue with the same process. It's also going to create the pull request to address that lint as well as address the security vulnerability issue as well. All right, so where are we in our cycle, right? So we kind of like saw how you are able to leverage QDeveloper, how you're able to leverage ISE generator for writing code, and you are also able to see how you are able to leverage QDeveloper to even scan the code that you're writing. So as you write code, you are able to ask questions around, hey, do you see any chance of like vulnerabilities that you may detect in the future? And then you have QDeveloper scanning your entire code base and also categorizing the issues for you based on the severity of the security vulnerability that it kind of like detects. So now coming to build and test, again, we want to focus on detecting security vulnerabilities at scale. A lot of customers ask me, hey, do we have like any Gen AI services that we could leverage as part of making our security vulnerability detection much better? And again, some of the challenges we always see is a lot of organizations go to acquisitions. So as a result of that, they bring their own set of DevOps practices, they bring in their own set of CI/CD pipelines and a lot of different security tools. There's always confusion around what to adopt, and there's always like you know, some sort of like confusion that happens in between like pre-existing processes and the new processes that the acquisition brings in. So we have seen those challenges before. So how do we go about standardizing that process, and how do we go about making sure security vulnerabilities are captured during the development phase? And I've also seen it doesn't have to be with a development cycle alone, right? So you can also focus on an infrastructure pipeline as well. I always encourage my customers to run CFN guard, run TerraScans as part of their CFN pipeline, so that they don't deploy, you know, like a public S3 bucket directly to production or to pre-production or something like that, right? So yeah, that's how you kind of like want to adopt the best practices when it comes to detecting, and also following the security best practices when you're trying to build pipelines and detect the issues beforehand. So AI for security, one of the services that I always suggest my customer or have leveraged with my customers is being able to leverage Amazon Code Guru Security. Again, it's an AI ML service that helps with detecting security vulnerabilities at scale, and it's again API based. So you're able to integrate that with your AWS ecosystem quite well and detect the security scans. And one issue that I see, right, so I've been a developer before, and anything that I develop today, or maybe a package that I leverage today, is just because I was able to meet my sprint task requirement, but after like 6 months, it will throw CWE vulnerability, and then I have to go about fixing it or upgrading that package. So, and it could be as fast as even tomorrow, right? So we might be leveraging a package today, and tomorrow we might have a CWE issue, and we've all seen that, right? So how do you go about detecting that using Code Guru Scan? So here's a simple example of integrating Code Guru Security, which is our AI ML service that helps with scanning for vulnerabilities. And as you can see here, you have developers committing the code, and you have code pipeline, and then you have all the artifacts which are related to the build getting pushed to the S3 bucket, and that's going to trigger what is called as the Code Guru CLI client, and Code Guru is going to do the complete scan of your artifacts that's published into your S3 bucket, and then it's going to give you or detect the security vulnerabilities present in that code. So there's a quick demo of Code Guru. It's a short demo. So let me quickly go over that here. It's a demo that's not integrated with CI/CD pipeline. Like I said, you can always use the API calls to integrate that as part of CI/CD pipeline. So this is where we are connecting to a Git repository directly and uploading some code files, and we are doing the scan, and you can see how the scanning would work. All right, so the scan is in progress. And once that completes, so there are like 2 findings, and again you can see it kind of like categorizes the findings in terms of the severity as well, and then you have 2 CWE findings there. It kind of like gives you a very nice summary of what's the problem, what's the fix, and also points you to the code snippet where the changes need to be made to address that specific security vulnerability as well. And what they're going to do here is, again, leveraging Q to run a project scan. And if you kind of like do that, you can see it's going to come up with the same results. It's going to say 2 vulnerabilities detected. So there you go. So 2 issues were found. So you can see both are, you know, like AI powered, trying to detect the security vulnerabilities as you're trying to build code. You're trying to capture that beforehand and making sure it doesn't go to production. All right, so coming back to our flow here, so we saw writing code and leveraging AI services there, and we also saw build and test and leveraging our Code Guru security scans to detect vulnerabilities at scale. So now moving on to the last part, that is the observability piece. Like I said, the observability piece becomes complicated as you have more and more applications, you have more alarms to monitor, you have more thresholds to monitor, you have more alarms. You have to create CloudTrail logs, you have to create CloudWatch logs, and operationally it's a heavy burden. Sometimes I've seen organizations missing something critical just because of a false alarm, right? So again, our goal here is to improve the operational efficiency by leveraging some of the GenAI services, and I'll talk through what I leverage as part of an experience or a story with my customer. And again, the goal here is to reduce the MTTR. All right, so here's the service, DevOps Guru, and again, you could also as an organization be leveraging a lot of tools like Splunk perhaps, which kind of like has a dashboard where you're able to operationally see what's going on with a variety of your applications. But one cool thing that I liked and I implemented for my customer is because he kind of like asked me if there is an ML powered service that I could leverage in order to improve the application availability overall. It's just not about taking a reactive action, but can I do something proactively was the main ask he had. And I was like, yes, let's leverage DevOps Guru, because it's not only going to take reactive action, like say there's a security incident, it doesn't like automatically trigger workflows and address that, but it also kind of like proactively says, hey, I kind of like see some issue with this application that can come up in about 3 months duration. So it's able to predict the future as well, and that's what makes DevOps Guru very helpful when it comes to making the operational work much better. So this is how a standard workload could look like. So you kind of like have, say, EC2 based applications, or you could be having serverless applications, you could be having RDS, and then again you have like monitoring in the middle. You'll be leveraging CloudTrail, CloudWatch, or RDS performance insights. And then to the right you see that you create a lot of dashboards, a lot of alarms, and event bridge notifications, and SNS for your ops team to get notified if something goes wrong. And then on the ops side you have Ops Center or Slack, or even a text message that you get when something goes wrong. So this is how your standard workflow would look like, right? So now where does DevOps Guru actually fit in here? So it's going to be right here at the bottom. So what DevOps Guru is going to do here is helps you with anomaly detection. Again, helps with reactive approach as well as proactive approach. It kind of like looks through all the logs that you have with CloudWatch, with CloudTrail, RDS insights, pulls metrics from different applications, and you can even have a chatbot in front of it and be like, hey, how's my application doing? And kind of like gives you the information there, right? So that's exactly where DevOps would fit and make your life much easier. And another example or an implementation that I also want to talk about is being able to leverage Bedrock agents. So one of the recent projects that I worked with my customer was he had a lot of, again, same operationally inefficient, kind of like wanted to have automated actions to be taken for a specific issue based on certain alarms. So what we did was we leveraged the CloudWatch alarms and CloudTrail. We had the logs ingested and we kind of like leveraged Bedrock, which is our AI-powered service, and we used agents there in order to go to S3 bucket, look at a particular SOP that was part of a knowledge base, and then kind of like take actions based on how a specific issue had to be addressed. And that kind of like made the solution really good and operationally efficient because they didn't have ops team sitting in the middle of the night doing or executing an SOP because it was all automated with Bedrock agents. So that's another example of how you could leverage an AI in order to make your ops work a lot easier. All right, so again, back to our flow. So we saw writing code, we saw build and test, and then the last piece was observability. And again, you could have a lot of custom solutions. I kind of like try to simplify the flow here, and you could, and again, you could leverage Bedrock here, Bedrock agents. You could leverage strands. We have Kiro for vibe coding today. So right, so a lot of AI tools that can fit into the flow here, but I kind of like try to minimize that to one specific customer use case and try to talk about how AI could be used in order to make your DevOps processes much better. With that, so the final takeaway for you all is go back to your systems, maybe pick a workload, see what can change there, see if you're leveraging AI as part of your CI/CD process, see how you can make your processes operationally efficient. Go build POCs, get approval from your managers, and we are here to help as well. And again, you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Do let me know, and thank you all for listening to me so patiently. Kind of like try to maybe not bore you with demos, but hopefully you like the session, and thank you all.